Welcome to the Archives Without Tears Key Concepts modules. Module 1, Introduction to Archives and Archivists. These modules provide very brief and basic overviews of the more in-depth content available through the Pennsylvania State Archives 2-day Archives Without Tears workshops. These concepts were first compiled as the American Association for State and Local Histories, or AASLH's, Basics of Archives course. With funding from the National Historical Publications and Records Commission, the Pennsylvania State Archives adapted and expanded these principles into Archives Without Tears, or AWAT, an in-person 2-day workshop offering practical and accessible guidance for those who work with historical records. This module, Introduction to Archives and Archivists, is one of a series of key concept overviews available from the Pennsylvania State Archives. In this module, we will convey these points. What are records? Who keeps records? Who uses records? What is an archives? And what does an archivist do? What are records? Records are those things created and used throughout day-to-day interactions that offer evidence of activities and relationships. They can provide information about organizations, people, places, and events. It's important to note that all records have value at the time of creation, though for many records that value decreases in time. Some records, however, have enduring value. We call those records historical records. Those often tend to be unique and unpublished materials and can be referred to as archival records. They offer important and unique perspective and sometimes background into the creator of those materials. It's important to note that historical records can be in any format. Who keeps historical records? Certainly we might think of historical societies or museums, public libraries that collect local history, academic institutions that may have special collections libraries. There may be community groups, whether ethnic, religious, or otherwise, that maintain records. Businesses often may have archives of their important records. Certainly state and local government are obligated to retain certain types of records. Hospitals and medical communities, and even individuals and families may maintain historical records. They may vary in scope, from being very organized to just starting out, but all are equally important. Who uses historical records? Individuals may use historical records for genealogical research or searching family history. They may look to document their home for restoration purposes, or tracing property history, or even understanding the past and the history of their community. Organizations may use historical documents to document legal and fiscal obligations or understand past decisions, and even for future planning purposes. Communities may be looking to document the shared experiences that are unique to those communities, also for property preservation or exploring lesser known history. Governments certainly need to document their accountability and document their rights and obligations, whether legal or financial. When we speak of examples of historical or archival records, we stress the two U's, which are unique and unpublished. We think of things like maps, minutes, account books, photographs, letters, oral histories, or diaries. These are all unique, one-of-a-kind materials. Certainly, other things such as government records like minutes, certain property or planning records, and court records, wills, and deeds may have historical significance as well. It's important to note that historical records are found in many different formats, and increasingly that includes electronic. The term archives can have over a dozen definitions, but for our purposes, we will mention three. One, the physical location or facility, the building or infrastructure that is housing the records. Two, the records themselves, which can be the entire body or a selection of materials that are managed for preservation. And three, the organization, program, agency, or individual responsible for collecting records. What is an archivist and what does an archivist do? According to the Society of American Archivists, an archivist is defined as an individual responsible for records of enduring value. As you might imagine, individuals at all levels are tasked with caring for important records, whether that's those with no formal training or those with highly specialized skills. Both are equally important. We can see the list on the slide here of some of the typical obligations or duties of an archivist. We will discuss each of these in greater detail in additional modules, but for now, know that appraisal is making determinations on what is most important to come into a collection. Accessioning is documenting or formally documenting that process. Preservation is ensuring the safety and security of records. Arrangement and description is protecting and describing so that researchers can eventually access those materials. Reference is the assisting of researchers with finding and using the materials. Outreach is promoting collections and increasing awareness of those materials. And as always, be aware of other duties as assigned. Thank you for viewing this module of Archives Without Tears Key Concepts. For the next in the series, please view Module 2, Collections Policy. If you have any questions or would like more information about the full Archives Without Tears workshop, please contact ra-statearchives@pa.gov. Thank you.